Hello folks, welcome back to Canada's Boxing Channel. So earlier today I did a short video with Russ at Porky's Corner, and one of the questions Russ was asking me about was whether or not I thought there was any sort of real or sort of reality, I suppose, to the apparent conflict between Ben Shalom and Eddie Hearn. Of course, one is the promoter of Boxer, and the other is the promoter, CEO, etc. of Matchroom Boxing. And as we've seen now over two press conferences between Chris Eubank Jr. and Connor Benn, held to promote their upcoming fight at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, we've seen a number of things. We've seen, of course, Eubank mocking openly Hearn, telling him to shut up, telling him he doesn't want to hear from him. We've seen, of course, the infamous egg gate, where Eubank slapped Ben, and cupped in his hand was a raw egg, or at least a very soft boiled egg. And we've seen, back and forth animosity, if you like, between Hearn and Shalom. Now, I've gone on record here to say that I think that a lot of this between the two fighters is promotional stuff. Whilst their fathers may have had bad blood, there's no real reason why the sons would have bad blood. They were raised away from each other in much more privileged environments. They've not boxed in the same weight class. There's no real reason why there would be anything between them at all. But it's being marketed, I suppose, so that people will be either Team Blue or Team Red. And the issue with the promoters is any beef, if you like, between them is even less likely. I mean, first of all, neither are fighters at all. I mean, Eddie Hearn would have us believe that he's some sort of Rolex Roadman or Dunhill destroyer with a claimed record of 7-0 at some amateur level or white collar level boxing. But I mean, the incongruity of that is that whilst I have videos of my daughter playing soccer in the 1990s, no footage exists of Eddie Hearn ever boxing. I was just a guy with one of those big old cameras you put a tape in, and of course, I've got those tapes, but Eddie Hearn, whose dad ran a full-scale production company and access to, the latest in cinematographic equipment, apparently doesn't have any footage. It seems nonsense to me. And this sort of beef between Shalom and Hearn has gotten ridiculous now. I saw something. I saw it this morning, but it was probably produced yesterday, where somebody was asking Shalom whether or not it was likely that he and Hearn would take part in a Misfits boxing match. And, it's laughable, really. And Shalom was saying, what did he say exactly? That he believed he would win, that he would knock Hearn out over the distance. Which again is so you're either going to knock him out or you're going the distance. But to say I'm going to knock him out over the distance, frankly, sounded as pathetic as it really is. As I was saying to Russ on our show earlier this morning, I think Ben Shalom might struggle with a piece of overburned toast, let alone another human being. And I mean, I'm not seeing that Hearn is going to be either boxing or rolling around with anybody at all. My take on Hearn, for what it's worth, which it's worth what you're paying for it, right? Is that Hearn is a bullying kind of fellow. He's been raised very, very, very privileged. He's not the kind of fellow, I think, who laughs with you, but likes to laugh at you. I'm sure we've all come across folks like this who are actually sometimes really quite funny, but their humor is not of two guys laughing together at something, but where one guy is sort of needling the other guy a little bit and getting a laugh. Maybe from the guy who's being needled, but usually from the other guys in the bar, or the girls in the bar, or whatever. You know, it's sort of like Eddie Hearn is probably funny when he's got a victim. He's not really genuinely funny. And what I see is that he doesn't actually like anybody to contradict or put back on him, as we've seen with Eubank. So I'm sure that it's, you know, Hearn is a little bit irritated, but to say that there's a genuine beef or animus is, in my view, most likely not true. I will say one thing, that whenever I've observed Hearn and Shalom, I have noticed that Shalom does his very best to be civil and sort of respectful. I mean, he's the new kid on the block, right? He's a young fellow. I don't know how old he would be. Late 20s, early 30s? Somewhere like that. Whereas Hearn is 45. I believe in something I watched that he was saying he was coming in to be in 46. So there's, 15 years or so age difference between the two fellows. And Shalom does seem to be the more respectful, the more professional of the two. But yeah, I don't ascribe any genuine credibility to a real beef between these two promoters, both of whom have the same goal. The goal is to sell tickets, right? The goal is to make money. It's hard to have a real beef with somebody if your goal is the same, right? If two guys want the same thing and they're working collaboratively together to achieve the same thing, they may not really like each other, but they're unlikely to really have a tremendous dislike for each other. As for the fighters, they'll do their job. They may or may not. I suspect they don't really care for each other, but it's not real. It's a continuation of this sort of WWF, sorry, I guess it has been for many years now, a WWE saying, Macho Man Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan, right? It's probably the last time I ever saw the WWE, so I know I'm totally out of date, but you get the idea. Anyways, let me know what you think. Is there any substance to any of this, do you think? And if so, would you like to see a Misfits fight between these characters? Let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, thanks for liking, sharing and subscribing, and have a fabulous day. Thank you. Bye-bye.